Was this your first Tinley?
Yeah, that was my first ever show outside of Nebraska. First ever big
Wow.
reptile, first ever multiple day reptile expo. It's like I said, it had been a dream since I was in 5th grade.
Mm-hmm.
And we're finally there. We made it. But
You finally reached the Super Bowl, as some people call it.
exactly. I'm still coming down from it now, even though it's been over.
Yeah.
It was just like a fever dream. I could.
Hey, welcome back to another episode of the Gecko Cove Connection. Today I have Jon from Goldenrod Geks. Welcome, Jon. It was nice to meet you at Tinley.
Yeah, it was honestly a freaking honor to meet you. I don't know. I freaked out a little bit when I saw you.
Dude, you made my day. It was the beginning of Saturday. I'm in line, and you popped out of nowhere on my feed, right? And, all of a sudden I start, binging your shorts and your videos, and I had an absolute blast watching them. We'll get into that in just a little bit. So, to me, I'm still just a fan of a bunch of people, and so I'm a fan of yours. So when you, got all excited to see me, I'm like, well, this is fantastic. This is weird.
Yeah, I don't know. It's still just for me, I'm so new to this hobby that whenever someone recognizes me, especially someone like you who's been in the hobby for quite a while, it's just I don't feel like I deserve to be known like that, but it's such an honor just to see the people that I've looked up to at least recognize me and be able to see what I've been able to do. So,
yeah, no, and it's crazy you say it in that way too, right? Because you're you've watched my videos for so long. Dude, I've only been on for about a year, right? I've only been in this hobby for about 3 years. And so, time is relative, right? And you listen to the people and they're like, man, they've been in since 2019 and they're really old. And I'm like, dude, 2019, I was, just having my first kid.
Yeah.
I guess it was 5 years ago, but it feels like yesterday to me. So, I don't know, as I get older, if time just seems to go by faster because I don't remember as much, the psychology of that. But, I feel honored. And so people are going to, in short time, go and say, man, I've been watching all your stuff from the very beginning. You're like, yeah, that was 6 months ago, dude. So, but it's great to be recognized. It's great to know that people are actually, really appreciating what we do, because it is kind of a labor of love, right? We're not getting rich off this, and we just have a passion. So let's back up a second and talk about, Jon, how long have you been doing this, and what got you into geckos? Let's start with geckos first. How long have you been keeping those?
Okay. Well, so should I just go in the whole big spiel from when I was a little
some of
lad?
these last 2 hours, you go whatever story you want. This is your time.
Well, I think I got my first gecko when I was in 4th grade. It was a leopard gecko, just like about 99% of other people. So I got a leopard gecko named Pip. He was super chill. And then after that, I always watched the reptile room tours and things like that on YouTube. And so I'm like, ooh, I want my own reptile room. And in the back of my head, I was like, oh, I could start a YouTube. And I was just super crazy about the animals. Ever since I was a little kid, I was the one playing with a spider on the playground while everyone else said to kill it. So I just really liked the weird stuff, the stuff that other people thought wasn't supposed to be a pet. So then I got a leopard gecko, and then after that I bought a bearded dragon and a couple chameleons, and then another leopard gecko, and then I really wanted a snake, and my dad said no, and so I gave him a 40-minute presentation on fear, and he finally let me do it. It was a
nicely done,
stubborn little guy. And then I bought a crested gecko, and this is actually really funny. So I'm about, I think, 12 when I get my crested gecko, and it's actually pretty sad. I ended up killing it. The first crested gecko I had, I kept it way too moist, and I put a heating pad on it, and I ended up killing it. And I'm a bit of a perfectionist when it comes to things. If I can't do something perfect, I won't do it. And so then after that, and it was a tiny little 4-gram baby, but after that, I was like, okay, I can never keep these again because I'll kill it. That's where I was like, all right, done. I'm never going to keep New Caledonian species because I can't do it. I don't want to kill any more animals.
Crested geckos are a really hard species.
But yeah, no, they're the worst. I mean, how hard it is.
No, but I think it's important to recognize that without the proper knowledge, these things are not bulletproof.
Yeah. It's such simple aspects of care that when done wrong, they just won't thrive. Anyway, I get to college, so I'm like going into my senior year of high school, and I have to go to college, and so I get rid of my animals. I had to rehome my carpet python, my bearded dragon, my leopard geckos, because I can't exactly shove all those in a dorm room where you're only allowed to have a fish. So can't really hide a 7-foot long snake. So I got rid of all those.
You didn't join the right fraternity where
Oh
you could
yeah,
hide
no,
the
that's my
snake.
bad. Yeah, I should have done that.
Yeah.
But I ended up buying a beta, but my roommate killed it. That's a whole nother story. So then I get to my sophomore year of college, and I move into a house with a bunch of my friends. And so then I'm like, okay, I kinda want another reptile. And I'm like, I think I'm gonna try a New Caledonian species, just because I'm a lot older now. I actually know proper care. Like, I've researched what to do. I know what a dry out period is now, so that's nice. And at first, I wanted a lychee. That's what I wanted as my pet, because it was like big and impressive and like this cool giant like gecko that I'm like, I want that. And then I forgot, and then I realized that I'm in college again and couldn't afford a $3,000 long ass
GT,
thing.
yeah.
Yeah, I can't afford this giant gecko. That's because I have always had like a champagne taste on a beer budget. I don't know if you've ever heard that term. I've
Absolutely.
always I've
I'm the
always
epitome of that, my friend.
yeah, I've always just wanted the best, only wanted the best. That's the stuff that looks nice, but I'm like down here and I just can't do it. So then I moved on and I was like, okay, I'll get a Chihuahua. Chihuahuas are smaller, and I was like, okay, well, I want a red-based white collar. And so there again, I couldn't get what I want, and so I wasn't gonna settle for something less.
Fair enough.
And then I looked at Gargs, same thing again, wanted just like a super high expression, super blotch. And I'm like, okay, it's $2,000, can't do that. And
Yep.
so cresteds were my last choice. I did not want a crested, because
Mm-hmm.
everyone had cresteds, and I was like, that's boring. I don't want those. And so then I bought him. His name is Manolo. He's my first crested gecko. He still sits on my nightstand by my bed.
Nice.
And that would be 2022. And I bought him. And then I was like, okay, these things are kind of cool. Maybe I'll buy another one. Maybe I'll breed it. Because, like, when I was little, I always wanted to be a gecko breeder. That was since 5th grade. It was the dream. And so I'm like, I'll buy another one. So I bought another one. And I was like, yeah, I wonder what other kind of colors there are. You know, because he was just a Harlequin.
What is he?
He's just sort of a black base, almost olive Harlequin. He's from Copper State Cresteds.
Nice.
Yeah, he's very pretty. Like, for a beginner gecko, I think I spent more than most people, but it goes back to the whole, I like nice things. I just like pretty stuff.
Well, and they live a long time, so if you can save up, and even with your very first gecko, if you're watching this and you're looking at getting into geckos, I mean, I think we can both agree, buy the best you can afford if the goal is that you want to love this thing for the rest of its life as a pet, or if you do eventually want to breed, it's an easier option.
Yep. No, the breeding was always in the back of my head. Like, that's especially why I bought him. Because even so, he's a really pretty animal. I mean, he's got a bunch of white spotting, and he's a cute little guy, and I love him. But okay, back to it. I went on a rant for Manolo because I love him so much.
He'll appreciate that.
I know he will. He's probably thinking he's in his coconut probably right now, just smiling like a lark.
Exactly.
But I saw a picture, and this is I think what changed my mind into like wanting the nicer geckos, the higher end stuff. The like, okay, I want to do some investment quality pairings. I saw a super high expression red lily white. I don't know. This is a sneaking suspicion. I don't know because this was 2 years ago, but I think I literally might own that animal now.
Really?
Yeah.
Nice.
I can't tell you for sure because I do not remember the account, but she looks exactly like what was pictured in my head. So I have a sneaking suspicion I literally own her now. But it was this super high expression, like deep red lily with just everything covered. And I was like, it just looks like a dessert. You know, it looks gorgeous. Like it doesn't look real. It looks like someone painted it. And I was like, I need those. Like, I want to create that. That's amazing. It's just, I was fascinated. So after that, I was like, all right, we're breeding and I'm going to get some high-end stuff and I'm going to try to do this. And so that's the sort of the catalyst. And so now here we are 2.5, 3 years later, I think. And I've got a giant room full of them.
Yeah. So, okay, you started then probably what, 2020, 2021, 22. Man, time is flying, man.
No,
Here, I'm
you're
thinking
good.
that's
It
like
feels
2 years ago, 3 years ago.
Yeah,
Yeah, I'm getting old. But
me too.
yeah, I mean, that's what happens, and we get to that point where buy a gecko this month. All right, 3 months later, I get another gecko. I mean, it adds up, and before you know it, you've got a nice collection, and it takes time. So when you're first starting out, it seems daunting. You're looking at that gorgeous red lily white, and you're like, and which is one of my absolute favorite crested geckos, by the way. So you're making me jealous. You might have to send me a picture of that to post right here.
Okay.
But to me, the right lily white with that bright red, how it cleans it up, and almost where it has a perfect balance of red and white. You know, there's those some of them that are almost completely white, and you just see a little bit of red peeking through. Those are cool; they have their place. But the nice balance between the Harlequin and the red, those are just pure perfection for me. So yeah, maybe one day when I really get into crested geckos, you know, I'm not a huge crested gecko guy as of right now, but I appreciate them. So yeah, that would be awesome. So okay, how many geckos are you up to currently?
Well, including my this is right here is the this is the first season production, by the way.
Very nice.
My 4 babies from my 1 pair. So, including those, I think I'm up to 30 now.
That's impressive. Okay. So,
I went a little
all right. Well, that
for a little bit.
that 4, I can guarantee will explode next year. If you've got 30 geckos.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I did some projections for this season because I think I'm going to have 7 females ready.
Okay.
And so I'm expecting like 40 or something because a few of them are first timers, so I'm not really expecting them to be very prolific. Sort of okay with maybe 1 or 2 pairings, you know. But I'm hoping 40 babies. I'll say that and then I'll get 15, or I'll say that and then I'll get like 80, but
or 100.
Yeah.
You know, so it'll just be everybody's having a hard time this year. It sounds like with crested gecko production.
Yeah, fertility is definitely on the down low.
Yeah, I luckily with me, maybe it's just because it's Gargs, I do not have that issue whatsoever. I ran 5 females this year, and I ended up with 52 babies.
Wow.
So yeah.
Good for you. Wow.
I am not having issues with babies right now. So I'm like, please stop. It's getting cool outside. All right, let's pump it. Yeah, because I actually ended up picking up, I'll have to post another picture of it right here. I'm making a lot of work for myself. I got these Sea Serpent racks, baby racks, the 6-quart tubs. It's got heat on a thermostat in the back, which I love. I think it makes them grow a little bit faster if you have the right humidity and heat. And again, if you don't know what you're doing, don't add heat. Just keep your room nice and cool. But I think it was 45 slots. So I've been able to fortunately sell a few babies already. So I'm not maxed out in space. But I'm looking at next year going, I thought 45 would be enough for like my entire career. Might need to invest in 1 more baby rack, or at least a grow out rack, upgrade them as they get bigger. But yeah, no, it's fun how it sneaks up on you. And so, one thing I did want to kind of talk about is looking behind you. You see, exactly what I did initially, which was a lot of tubs. I see you've got the shoe boxes, which work great. I've got the shoe boxes right here. Yep. So obviously I'm a big fan too. They have a great purpose. Talk to me about your experience with tubs versus other types of, you could, like you said, you've got a champagne taste on a beer budget, right? And so is that the reason we're in tubs? Is it because you find them beneficial? Are there pros and cons? Talk to me a little bit about that.
Yeah. So I really I've tried other enclosures. I have 3 glass tanks as well. I've got a couple 30-gallon, a couple 18-24s, and a 12-18. Originally, when I got my first crested gecko, it was fully bioactive, giant 30-gallon enclosure. Like, it was to the nuts, like everything you could do. And that was okay for 1 crested. I could manage checking up on him, making sure he's okay. I could try to find fecals. I still kind of never found fecals because the cleanup crew got to it first.
Which is the
But
point.
it was really pretty, and I really liked it, and it was a nice statement piece. Like that's what
Yeah.
I liked. I liked having a nice little chunk of rainforest that I could show people, and like, here's my animal, and then here's also this just naturalistic wildlife thing, and it's super pretty to look at, and I really appreciate it. Still have that tank; it's still all built. But then as I started growing and getting a lot more, the upkeep of bioactive tanks that are glass and all that, and that sounds sort of counterintuitive because everyone, one of the main marketings for bioactive glass tanks is the low upkeep.
Mm-hmm.
But going back to me, I already said I'm sort of a perfectionist. I'm someone who I do weekly weights on all of my animals. I do fecals. I do fecals. I'm constantly checking up to make sure everything is perfect. And I know you can't get perfection. It's animals, but I try my best to
You
make
can
sure
chase it. You
perfect
can chase it.
adjacent.
Yeah.
Yeah, I try my best to make sure I know that my animals are healthy. And it was really hard to do that with big bioactive, and not necessarily bioactive. I'm not dogging on the bioactive community. I love bioactive stuff. I got a couple
Right.
bioactive tubs. But when it
But what's
comes
your
to,
purpose? When
yeah,
you're
when it comes
breeding,
to
there's a
grow
difference.
outs and quarantining animals and making sure they're growing and being healthy and thriving, I just can't get past the not being able to see what their poops look like, not being able to see if they've eaten, not being able to see if they've puked. It's just, I need to know that stuff. And if I don't know what it looks like, I'll start to convince myself that they're sick.
Yep. Okay. Fair enough.
And, so that's another reason why I sort of had the initial switch to tubs. It's just because it's so much easier to monitor multiple animals. That's also why I switched to paper towel as well.
Mm-hmm.
It's just super easy to monitor, a lot more easier to clean. You're cleaning more because you have to change out it because it's a disposable substrate, but also it allows me to see those fecals. I can pull that
Mm-hmm.
paper towel out at the end of the week and I can see the fecals and I can look at them.
See if there's any parasites or anything else
Exactly.
like that. Right.
Yes.
Exactly.
And so then I switched to tubs as well, because at that point I had switched out one of my glass tanks to paper towel from bioactive just because I had put a grow out in it, because this is back when I only had the second gecko. And so I switched it out so I could see the poops and see how they're doing and see if they're eating. And then the tubs were kind of tricky because I couldn't find that much on them on how to
Mm-hmm.
build them properly.
Okay. Interesting.
I found a couple videos, but they were like, you have to build this stencil and do this, and you have to make sure this, and so it sort of overwhelmed me, and I'm like, okay, what if I kill my animal? I'm always a worrier. I always worry, like, I do not want to kill my animal. I do not want to do harm to it. And so I sort of just got my own method down and did a little experiment where I'd put an animal in what I thought would work for like a week. And I'd monitor the humidity rates, monitor everything, and then I'd go in and modify another one and put a different animal in it. Because at that point I was, like you said, buying an animal like once a month. Honestly, most of the times it was like 2 or 3 a month that I was buying. And so I had a surplus of animals that I could sort of test my tubs on to make sure I got the right fit. And
So
so
how many
that's when
renditions did you have to go through before you
um
kind of found your groove where you're
3.
like, so that's not
Yep.
even a huge amount to
Yep.
test,
Yep.
right? So
I
you got
went
it pretty
through
quick.
3 of them before I got. My main thing I was concerned about was humidity levels. And that's one of the biggest pros with tubs is once you have the humidity dialed in, it's better than a glass enclosure. It's better than PVC. It's better than anything because you can literally control the ventilation to the T.
Yep, I agree. It's the biggest pro is
Mm-hmm.
just like you said, once you know what you're in your environment, right? And that's where it
Mm-hmm.
gets tricky is because where you are is way different ambient humidity versus where I am. And even where I live, the summers when I've got my AC off
Mm-hmm.
versus right now where it's starting to get chilly here in
Mm-hmm.
Chicago, right? I'm running my AC and I have to go and like load up. We have this thing to humidify our air vents. Otherwise my kids get nosebleeds. And it's like, we need some more humidity. This is dry as a bone in here, right? So playing around with that, you're right. The tubs are definitely the easiest way to control humidity unless you're like building out a room that's, humidified
unless
perfectly.
you somehow are able to have a whole gecko room and control the ambient that way. I'm just a college student, so I live with them.
Fair enough. And dorm rooms are getting so big now, it's harder to control. Back in my day, we basically got a closet to live in. So it might have been a little easier for me, just to control the humidity in there.
Yeah, thankfully I rent a house with 3 other dudes. So
Nice.
I get my own room.
So you got some more room. Even better. That's awesome, man.
But
Very cool.
okay.
So,
anyway,
so what would you say with you've kind of decided it's easier to maintain the geckos, it's easier to monitor the geckos, you're looking at their humidity, you're looking at their overall health, how much they're eating, and the pros of tubs outweigh some of the other options there that might be more expensive.
Yeah.
Now that you've kind of gone on that, are there any downsides to tubs?
Yeah, obviously. I mean, just like with any enclosure, each enclosure has downsides. With tubs, for me, I think probably the most annoying part of tubs, and people have said this and people will always continue to say this, stacking and unstacking when you're feeding and watering and doing changes is it. When the days I get off work and it's like midnight, 1 o'clock, and I'm just trying to get food through and I just have to sit there and just stack and restack 14 of them. It's like, maybe I should get a wall, like a custom PVC wall, and that'd be so awesome.
Yep.
But that, it's just that has got to be, it's just my biggest, it's the one thing that just like irks me off when I do chores is stacking and unstacking.
Well, that's where the shoebox situation, man, if a company would make, I did so much research right before I bought these enclosures because I'm like, there are so many pros to having just a plastic tub, right? Did some company out there make a tub that's large enough to hold an adult pair of geckos, right?
Mm-hmm.
That has a door. There had to have been something. There actually was, right? There was a company, Rubbermaid, made one back in like mid 2010s, and it was like a front opening storage tub kind of thing. I'm like, that would have been perfect. Discontinued. Can't find them.
Have you seen the Container Store tubs?
Yes. So that's
the
one of the better options. Yep.
Yeah, I've thought of those, but they're still, I can buy 4 Sterilite tubs for the price of one of those. So I'm like,
if you're going to spend that kind of money, I mean, right now they're on sale as we're recording this for 30% off. So, I think they're $27 plus tax, whatever, with free shipping and all that stuff. And I was looking at if I bought as my grow out kind of scenario there, if I bought 10 to 12 of them, it would cost me probably, a rough math, probably around $350, which isn't god awful, for that many enclosures.
Yeah.
But again, now let's talk about how much would it cost you for those 14 tubs you built?
Yeah.
$100.
It's literally, I think I did the math. So I'm a little extra with my decor. I do cork bark and Pangea vines. So
yeah,
I
love it.
I'm okay with having a little extra money spent on there because I still want to make sure my animals are super secure and they feel nice. One of the big things I preach on my Instagram is like, I always say, care over enclosure material. Because I put literally the same things that someone would put in a glass tank. The only difference is the enclosure material. I'm a little bit more expensive when it comes to like my decor costs. So $14 with the vines, and then I want to say roughly 2 pounds of cork bark. And so I get mine from Pangea for $9 a pound. So that's $18. So that's 22. And then the cost of a tub is $9. So we're up to $31. So around $30 for a tub. And that's fully finished, full decor. And it's like you can't beat
that. No, that's the cost of just the tub.
Yeah.
And I think that's one thing a lot of people don't realize too, is like when I bought all these, right? I was like, they're gorgeous and they're big and I don't have enough to put in them to make it justified where it's a good enclosure for these geckos. So ended up going to an expo right over the border in Wisconsin and got an awesome company that has a great pet store up there. And I'm going to blank on the name right now. I think it's Animal House. Really awesome guy. I should have him on the podcast. But I'll put the actual like logo and information right here because I'm an idiot right now. But
All right.
But it's early in the morning. I need more coffee. I'm not even drinking coffee right now. But hooked me up with this awesome, all these beautiful pieces of wood, right? And they were pieces that actually were meant for, what's it called? Aquariums. So really high humidity, rating. Obviously, if it's able to be submerged into water, this is going to hold up really well. I just sanded off some of the sharper areas, cut off a few little branches. And then just like you said, you got to have that cork bark in there. My Gargs love the cork bark. You got to have the plants in there, the substrate, everything else you want to put. Mm-hmm. And I don't do bioactive. I just make up I do use substrate. I don't use paper towel in there just to help with the humidity because unlike the tubs, when you've got a vented top, even if I try to like close it off, it just absolutely dries out. It just leaches all the humidity
out. It really does. Yeah,
and I don't have a misting system hooked up on these, and so the substrate's huge for me, and I have a huge water bowl. But all that stuff said and done, okay, so the enclosures here, I think I have 9 of them. I know I have 9 of them. They cost me. They were on sale at Dubia.com. I think I spent just over $1,000, like $1,100. Just for the enclosures, right? Which is not cheap, but it's not crazy expensive.
It's not the worst either. Dubio makes a really, really nice PVC enclosure.
They really do.
And their prices are so reasonable. They really are.
And with, honestly, if you buy enough, it's free shipping and they ship straight to your house. They're easy to put together. I have a whole video on YouTube, showing how I put it together. So if people want to see how hard it is, but again, they're 18-18-24s. So 9 18-18-24s. That's a lot of guts to put in, right? And so that probably cost me another $500 just to decorate it. And I'm not even done. I still want to get more stuff to put in them. But that's also kind of one of the fun things in the hobby is. So I've mentioned this before about myself. I like change. I like to tinker with things. I like to play around with, okay, if I do this different this time. And it sounds like you're sort of similar in that, okay, with your perfectionism, what if I tinker with this? What if I tinker with that? So talk to me about what you've tinkered with as well, or talk to me a little bit about, like, what have you changed recently? Okay. Because that's kind of the fun of this hobby, right? It's never boring. There's always something new to do. Do you have any new pet projects right now?
New what?
Pet projects? Like little things you're doing?
If we could go into projects, so we have one. This is actually an upcoming one. You'll probably like this. Maybe we can actually collab on like figuring out what to do.
Sure, definitely.
The other day I was thinking this will be another enclosure type thing. I recently just bought another like 12 stack of these back here. With the like front open, I think they come out to 15 quart, if I remember right, somewhere around there. I was thinking because I really love the front opening and you can't really beat the price of them as far as like it's a front opening stackable enclosure. And it's, in my opinion, like really good for grow outs. I really love the cleanability of them. I know some people say they are hard to clean, but I just like how it's 3 seconds pop, pop. It's taken apart and I can spray whatever I want. It's done. I was wondering if I could figure out a way to get a divider in these so I could separate them and make them my stackable baby racks.
Never thought of doing that.
So
now, that would be a fun way of doing it. I did something similar. So you see these are 18-18-36. So I went and got a pretty thick piece of it's kind of a PVC acrylic kind of thing, right? I don't know exactly what it is, but it's rigid, very rigid. And I cut it down to be exactly 18-by-18 and slid it in the middle, siliconed it all around. So basically cut it in half. Looks pretty nice, I think. And that way I've got now 2 enclosures per, enclosure instead of 1. Basically you're looking to do the same thing. I think the hard part is with something that small, getting something rigid enough where the geckos can't push through because they're small. And if there's gaps, they will get through.
That's what I was thinking. Because especially I want it to be permanent. So, because then I wouldn't be able to undo it, take it out, fold it, and be able to wash it. I still want to keep the easeability of cleaning these grow outs while having that. So what I've come up with so far, and this is just in my head, I haven't
Yeah, yeah.
made any like prototypes, I haven't tinkered, is sort of like a railing system as a guide. So it'd
Okay.
be plastic. I'm thinking of like buying a 3D printer so I can 3D print them. And so it'd just be a guide on either side, and then I can slide in a piece of plastic PVC. So I can slide it in, it can stay there, and it'll be flush up against the door, so they're not going to be able to move it side to side. But when I want to clean it, I can still pull it out, clean it. I can pull it
Yeah, I
out,
like
still
that.
undo it. But that's just in my head. I've wanted to try that.
It's always easier in your head. If it always, even that, I had a gap at the top I had to fill out. It wasn't exactly 1818 because where the vent is, they had a little gap
Yeah,
lid. So
yeah. That's just in my head. That's the next thing I want to try to figure out.
that's awesome. So, okay, here in my head, I'm just spitballing here off the cuff. But you know how, like, when you're building those, it's a flat piece of plastic,
Hmm.
right? That just kind of pops open and then you
Yep.
put the two frames on each side. What if you created a just perfectly, slightly smaller version of that with the divider already in there that you could slide in and out? You know what I'm saying? So it's just another piece inside that kind of
Hmm.
fits in there. So it would create walls around all four sides,
Okay.
right? And just sit perfectly in there with the divider.
Okay. So
You
you're
get what I'm
saying like
saying?
just add another,
Yeah,
and
like
then,
it's an insert.
yep.
It's so that way it's held up by just it would all collapse into a flat pack,
Hmm.
but you can do like a
You could
pop out,
still.
slide it in.
Hmm.
I don't know.
Hmm.
That was just
Yeah.
off the top of my head.
You're good. No,
We'll
it's
talk to
too.
somebody overseas, see if they
Well,
can
yeah. We'll talk to
prefab it.
someone that's like an actual like got an engineering degree or something that can. I'm just a little farm kid that's used to just messing around with stuff. So
Dude,
I'm.
if you're a farm kid, you're an engineer. Let's be honest here.
Yeah.
You
No.
have to
I
problem solve all the time.
Yeah, I grew up tinkering with my dad, fixing broken stuff all the time. So that's sort of what helped me come up with my tubs and all that. Actually, did I have a DIY tub series now on my Instagram because
Nice.
I
Okay.
wanted to document the process of doing that so that way people could have that because I couldn't find anything. I was like, I'll do this for other people,
Awesome.
and so now,
Well, I'm going to have that link down in the description. So after you guys are done watching this video, we'll put a link to it so that you can go watch John's tutorial.
it's a three-parter. So.
Awesome. I'll put all three links. All right. So you mentioned that you grew up in kind of a rural area, right? I'm a suburban kid. I know that people come from all walks of life in the gecko community. I've seen some city people, some suburb people, and people from the sticks, right?
Mm.
And my question is, especially with the reptile world, how did we've talked about how you kind of got into geckos, but were animals just always part of your life? How did you get involved with the exotic side of things? You know what I'm talking about? Like,
Yeah,
where
the
was the
weird stuff.
exposure? I mean, I feel like it's easier in today's world with social media and everybody's connected. It's not like, you don't have internet and TV out there. But you know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah,
where, where did you get that inspiration from?
I think I think it started with my mom actually.
Okay.
So yeah, I grew up in a small little town, about 1,000 people, and then I grew up 10 miles out of that town on a farm.
Awesome.
So I was a very secluded child. During the summer, I'd go into town like once every 2 or 3 weeks, maybe to like go get groceries or something like that. Otherwise, I just
Wow.
stayed and ran on the farm all summer and only had my siblings. So,
Very cool.
but no, my mom was always, love the unloved. Look at nature and see its beauty, even for the creatures that we are so stereotypically like terrified of.
Hmm.
Like when I was little, my mom found a black widow in her house, and she sat on the windowsill, and she had a little web in the crazy black widow web that's all just all over the place. And my
They
mom
are cool.
showed me, and she said, "Don't tell your dad. We're gonna keep him." And so me and my mom knew that there was a black widow in our windowsill, and she stayed there all summer, and she ate the bugs. And so I think that's my mom really showed me like how fascinating the more overlooked and stigmatized animals are if you look at them for their beauty and what they can do. And so that's what kind of introduced my passion to, the kooky stuff, the stuff that people call you crazy for keeping.
Yep.
Um,
Which they do.
yeah. Then Yeah, what really happened, like you said, is social media. I didn't know you could like own reptiles. I didn't know. I thought that was like I thought you couldn't do that, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And then I started looking online and like all the YouTube videos, Brian Barczyk popped up. Actually I talked about my presentation on fear for my dad.
Yeah.
Brian Barczyk. He had a bunch of vlogs about stigmatized reptiles and the fear behind them and why you can overcome that. And so I actually linked like 3 vlogs from Brian Barczyk in my presentation. But
It's awesome.
that's what sort of introduced me to this whole hobby of like people. They're keeping like 50 animals in their house. I was like, whoa, what?
Mm-hmm.
You know, it was so cool because I came from a farm and like I had cows. We had like 120 head of cattle, and it's like,
Mm-hmm.
but I can like do farming, but with reptiles. I was like, this is a dream. This is
Yeah.
awesome.
They don't take up nearly the amount of space.
Exactly. And then I think I bought my gecko. I had to drive about an hour and a half to the nearest town that had a Walmart. The nearest Walmart lived about an hour and a half away from me. So we drove there, and I picked him up from, I don't know if you guys, it's called Earl May. It's a garden store in
Okay.
Nebraska.
Yeah.
And they used to sell reptiles. I'm glad they don't anymore. They did not take good care of them. At the time, I didn't know that. I was a cute little guy who just wanted a leopard gecko. And so I bought it from Earl May, the garden store.
Hey, at least if you tell people that, they don't get upset, right? You tell somebody
Mhm.
you went to one of the big box stores, they're like, "You shop there?" It's like,
Yeah.
yeah, everybody starts there. Okay, we'll get over it quick.
But, and then after keeping that dude, I found out there was a reptile expo in Nebraska.
Okay.
Had no idea. I did not know. And so I think I was in 5th grade, and I begged my mom and my dad, and I was like, please let me go. I'm like, this is amazing. You know, I've seen all these videos of reptile expos. I've always wanted to go to one. Like I see them online. Like everything about the community was exposed to me through YouTube and social media. Like I knew like there's people out there that I can just talk about reptiles with because there was really no one besides my mom that I could like share my passion with. All the people in school pretty much thought I was weird, you know.
The
Like
reptile guy.
no, I don't want to
Yeah.
talk about your snake.
Right.
And so I finally convinced my parents to let me go to Omaha.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Omaha was where it was, and so we drove there, and I got to go, and it was just fascinating. And then I was like, all right, we're done. This is it. I'm pumped. And then I found out about the bigger shows, and that was my dream ever since I was a little kid. I was like, I want to go to like the Repticon. I want to go to Tinley. I want to go to all of these.
Yeah.
So, yeah,
And
it's
so that's where I met you, right,
mhm,
in person. Like I said at the beginning of this, it was Saturday morning. I'm standing in line like everybody else, and we just ran into each other. It was an awesome experience, and I guess my question then is where. Okay, you've gone to the smaller shows. You started with that. Tinley was my first show, so like I am so screwed in the head. Like I think all reptile shows look like Schaumburg and Tinley, right? And the only ones I've gone to that are smaller are like my local every other week show,
mhm.
Scott Smith, and then a few shows in Wisconsin. But was this your first Tinley?
Yeah, that was my first ever show outside of Nebraska. First ever big
Wow.
reptile, first ever multiple day reptile expo. It's like I said, it had been a dream since I was in 5th grade,
Mm-hmm.
and we're finally there. We made it, but
You finally reached the Super Bowl, as some people call it.
exactly, I'm still coming down from it now, even though it's been over.
Yeah.
It was just like a fever dream. I
So
couldn't
it lived
believe.
up to expectations.
Yes, it surpassed him even. It was just insane, like seeing all the people I had seen online. To me, that was mind-boggling. Like all of these people that I've looked up to that, I've wanted to see and I've wanted to like meet. Excuse
Mm-hmm.
me. And I don't know. It's super. It's still hard to like explain like how happy I was
Yeah.
and nervous. I was so nervous to walk
Yes.
in. I was terrified because I was like, my goodness, what if the people that I'm about to meet don't like me? You know,
Or you don't like them.
or exactly. I was like, what if it's a don't meet your heroes? What if it's a
Mm-hmm.
go away kid? You're being way too annoying. And I was like, I was terrified, and I was like sitting there shaking in my car, And my girlfriend was like, "It's okay. You need to calm down." I'm like sitting there just like, it's going to be okay. I just have to go for step one, breathe. And then,
Mm-hmm.
and it was just
There are
like,
some mini celebrities, I call them mini celebrities. Maybe they're just celebrities in
mm,
our industry, right? People that if you talk to anybody outside the reptile world, they're like, who? Who's Dave Kaufman? Like,
mm-hmm.
I have no idea, right? It's like, for us, it's like, you don't know Dave?
Yeah,
Like,
you don't know snake discovery? Well,
right. So, was there somebody that you were just really excited to see, or were there a few people that you were really excited to, kind of hunt out and, get to introduce yourself that you were really nervous about?
I think probably the person I was most excited to see, and this is going to be biased because this is a fairly new
It's
person
yours.
I
Yeah.
met, would be Jay from AJD Reptiles.
Yeah.
I've like learned so much from him, and I'm like a fangirl of the Frost line. I know this is a Gargoyle Gecko podcast,
No,
but
but geckos.
for those who don't know what the Frost line is, it's just the most highest white, high expression harlequins you'll ever see. They're just mind boggling animals. I own one,
Mm-hmm.
but I've learned so much from him that it was just amazing to like meet this person and actually be able to like see the person who kind of got me into this again too. Without him, I don't think I would have had the courage to buy the investment quality animals because I worried like, oh god, what if $1,500 worth of animal just dies? That's scary. There's this,
It's a lot of money for a lot of people.
yeah, especially like me. I don't make that back very quick.
No, no. But he's a great guy to meet. First off, I was in the same boat last year when I first met him, right?
Mm-hmm.
Here I am. I'm obsessed with the Gecko Pod. I get to know him through that. I find out that we're from basically the same area, right? Grew up
Mm-hmm.
just a stone's throw apart, didn't know, had a lot of the same experiences. And I'm older than him, and yet I'm still like nervous to meet this guy, right? And he couldn't have been nicer. He has
Mm-hmm.
been, one of the most genuine people to just chat with, talk to, and it doesn't have anything to do with me doing a podcast or anything else like that. I think I've just seen him interact with so many people at these things. He is the really friendly, awesome guy that he
Mm-hmm.
portrays himself to be. He's you watch his Palm Streets, and he's one of the most like generous people. So that was one where I am nervous. There are people that I won't mention that you don't meet your heroes, right? They
Yeah.
don't always
Yeah. Yeah.
live up to those expectations,
I had
and
a
he's
I
not one
had
of
a
those.
I had a couple like that. I'm not going to say any names.
Exactly.
I have no ill will. They're probably just a little more introverted than they thought they would, and I'm a lot. When you meet me, I'm a very not.
We're
I don't mean
extroverts.
to be in your face. I'm just really loud and really enthusiastic, and I love meeting people. I'm an extrovert through and through. Like I love talking. I want it to be my
Yep.
job for the rest of my life. I want to talk. So a lot of times people don't share that vibe, and it makes me feel bad because I'm like, I do not want to overwhelm you. I'm just
I'm just
all in
sucking
all
your
the
energy.
time.
Absolutely. Yeah, maybe in a more chill environment with
Mm-hmm.
a glass of whatever you like to drink, it would be a different story. That's why some people like to hang out in groups, small
Mm-hmm.
groups. But Tinley is a big extrovert.
Yeah.
People probably need to go home and take a nap for a week afterwards,
Yeah.
if they get drained. Or like, I guarantee you and I, we're still on the high. We just
But yeah.
absorbed as much energy as possible. So, but yeah, AJ's great. Was there anybody else that was a surprise to you? Like I saw somebody this time where I didn't even know they were coming, and it totally blew my mind. You know who I'm talking about?
I think it's gonna be for me, Kevin from Nerd.
Mm,
I did not know he did that.
mm-hmm.
He was one of the dudes that going back to I mentioned like YouTube when I was little. He was the person who taught me how to handle reptiles because I didn't know anyone with reptiles. I didn't know how to hold these, and so many of his videos are just these beautifully dialected speeches on what animals are doing, how they think, like putting yourself in their shoes. Like he is one of the most, I think he always says he understands reptiles more than humans or something like that. And it's so fascinating how empathetic he is towards these animals who are, their brains are wired so much differently, but he's somehow able to just understand them. And I'm gonna be honest, I didn't get the courage to say hi. Most of the
It
time he was
happens.
talking, but I was just like, it was just so fascinating seeing him, and I got to hear him like give a speech on reptile handling, sort of like to a crowd of people, and I was like, this is awesome.
Yeah, to see that in person, it's like seeing your favorite band in person, right? And he, I'll give him this too. The joke is that he understands reptiles more than humans, but you've got to understand and be able to connect with humans to educate people the way he
Mm-hmm.
does, right?
Mm-hmm.
To put it out there in a way that is easy to connect with a brand new keeper. You got to give him that credit for it.
Mm-hmm.
So it's
Yeah.
pretty magical to see.
Yeah.
Yeah. My big surprise walking around was Adam Wicken. So he was, yeah. So I saw him Friday and I did the whole like, do I say hello? Do I not? He's like walking around with his posse and he's got like a
Uh-huh.
whole group of people. I'm like, I don't know if they're bodyguards or best friends, but either way, like people were swarming him left and right. And I never want to be that guy who's like, I have to beeline it to him, right? I'm like, if it happens organically, or maybe, if I get desperate towards the end and then I'm leaving. And I ended up like walking in one time and it's getting towards the end of Saturday when I was there. I just kind of tapped him. I'm like, hey, Adam, I'm sorry. I just wanted to say hi. I love what you're doing. Can we get a photo together? He's super cool about it. And, we didn't have a huge interaction, but it's like, to me, he's again, one of those celebrities.
Yeah.
Where I've watched his top 5 videos for
Yep. Yep.
years.
I watch that
And
all the time. Yep.
I mean, I remember when I was just getting into gargoyle geckos, I'm like, maybe I get into like something else. And I had a 20-gallon tank, and I'm like, I need to watch his.
Yep.
What are the top 5 animals for the
I
20-gallon
watched
tank?
when I was going down the New Caledonian tree before choosing cresteds. I just like religiously watched the like. I think he had a video of like 5 animals that aren't a crested gecko. And I was like,
Yes.
yes. It's like, do not want these.
And then you end up with them. Yeah,
Yeah,
no,
then I
it's
end up with
funny how
30.
everything we
I don't
say
know.
we're not going to do, we end up doing.
Yeah.
But no, that was a really cool experience. And then we could list off a whole bunch of people, but
He was also one of those people I saw, but was too afraid to say hi. So I just adored from afar and then left.
yeah. And that's a real thing that I think a lot of people who watch this can relate to is if you do go to one of these events or you see somebody out there, it's easier for people like us that are extroverts, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like my wife, you couldn't pay her to go up to somebody and say hello if she doesn't know them. Like
Mm-hmm.
it would be anxiety up the wazoo. And I get anxiety and flustered and everything else like that. And I'm pretty personable when it comes to strangers. But it's true. Like sometimes it's just, they always say, come say hello, come up. And now that I'm also not very often, but I get recognized every so often when I go to these events and
Mm-hmm.
it always makes me feel good. And that's just my personality. So if anybody sees me and wants to say hello, you're never going to make me upset. You're never going to, if anything, I have sort of an imposter syndrome, which we've talked about, right?
Yep. Yep.
But I think it's kind of cool. People really do love sharing their passion, and if people
Mm-hmm.
recognize you and want to talk, my recommendation is don't be afraid. Jump out there, say hello. So very cool. So okay, what was your goal at Tinley other than meeting people? Did you go there to pick up a new animal? And did you accomplish that goal?
So I did have a very specific goal in mind when I went to Tinley. Actually, I'll backtrack a little bit just because
Mm-hmm.
I got to talk of like how disciplined I am.
Okay.
When I first started obtaining a breeding collection, I think I did what everyone did and just viewed myself as like a Pokemon trainer and just started to just get everything. I had to get an Axanthic, I had to get Dalmatians, I had to get some tricolors, I had to get my red phantoms, I started buying gargoyle geckos, like I'm just buying everything. And they weren't even, in my opinion, like breeder quality examples. That's another thing. I was just, ooh, good deal. I buy it. Good deal,
Good
buy it.
deals make it. Yeah.
And I started collecting at the time, like the YouTube auctions started coming out, and Palm Street a little later. But for me, it was like the YouTube auctions were gaining popularity as I'm getting a collection. So I'm just like buying 2 or 3 per auction. Just like, yes, I need all of them. I'm going to be a breeder. I need to buy as many as possible. And then after about, I would say 4 or 5 months of that, I looked at my collection and I realized like, I don't have a goal. I don't have a goal, a long-term goal at all. I'm just breeding the pairs to breed the pairs. I need to have a goal. that's when I realized, like, it's gone too far. I'm not going to last in this hobby unless I have a long-term project that I'm passionate about. Because you're not gonna last in this hobby if it's purely for money. That's just the truth.
Crested geckos aren't going for like 20 grand anymore.
No, I missed that actually. Yeah, I got in right during the recession. Yeah,
Yep.
I don't think they're gonna do that anymore. I think now it's back to
If you've
now
broken even,
fantasy
you're
land.
good
We're
right
in the
now.
real world for pricing again, so that's nice.
Yes, we are. It's a great time to buy,
Yes, it is.
which is also dangerous.
Exactly. So that's when I took a long look and I was like, okay, what do I like? What do I want to do? What do I like? I need to focus in on that. And I like tricolors and I love reds. We talked about this. The reason I
Yes, we
started
did.
breeding is I saw a super high expression red lily.
I'll make a
Love
Garg guy
reds.
out of you eventually.
Yeah, I've got two. I've got
There
two
you go.
already.
Yep.
I bought one as a pet, actually, because I'm like, ooh,
Yeah.
I'm going to build this nice bioactive tank. I better buy one as a pet and put it in there. And then I was like, these things are cool. I'll just buy one female. And so now I have one female. And that's probably going to turn into two here shortly or something, because I think this female isn't going to be RT breed, ready to breed next year. And so I'm going to have to buy another female.
Too. Yeah.
Yeah, it's
Your
all right.
arms. Yeah.
What's one more?
Twist my arm, right?
Okay. Anyway, so that's when I sort of started. I sold off a few of my animals because I realized, like, these aren't breeder quality. I actually sold off the first female I ever bought. And it was hard because, you have sort of an attachment to them. At least I had an attachment to her. She's the second crested gecko I ever bought. I really loved her. I held her all the time. But I had to take a good, hard look and sort of take a step back from my feelings and make an educated decision, because I'm in college. I can't work full time. I'm balling on a budget, kind of. I can't just have this pet that's not going to do anything for me if I want to make a name for myself as a breeder.
Absolutely.
And she didn't have good structure. She had a bunch of dowel spots. And so I'm like, I think it's the best move for me to sell her. So that's when I started selling off the newer stuff I bought to reinvest and get nicer quality animals. And so that's when I started having very specific goals in mind, very disciplined. And that's when the buying stopped. It went from 3 to 4 a month to maybe one a month, maybe one every other month, because I had a vision in my head and the animal needs to look like that, and I will not settle for less. People always say the market's saturated. If the market's saturated, I should be able to get what I want, and I'm not going to settle. So that's when my whole
Great line. I love that.
My whole mood switched, and I was like, I will get what I want. I'm not going to settle. I know what my dream is. So I went to Tinley looking for a high expression red porthole male, and I wasn't going to settle for lower expression. I'm like, I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to do it. And I did find one. I found one, and it was everything I was looking for. Portholes over the dorsal. It was
Nice.
beautiful. I was like, oh my goodness, this is it. And I bought it, and with my luck, it turned out that I had to return it because it ended up having a damaged eye.
Oh.
Yep. I found one animal in all of Tinley. I found one that was my standard, and on the drive home, I had put him in a bag and I'd let him sit on someone's table for the day while I was walking because I didn't want to carry him around, stress him out. So I was driving home and I look at this animal and its head is sort of crooked and it's hiding its eye, and I see it walking in circles. And I'm like, oh God, it's got neurological issues,
Mm-hmm.
That was what I originally thought was it's walking in circles to the left, the right hemisphere is damaged. Oh boy. And then I look at its eye and it's half of its pupil's thin and then the other half is blown out. And when I got home, I shined it with a light just to see if it dilate. Nothing. And so thankfully I DM'd the breeder and they said, yeah, just bring it back, return it. We'll give you a full refund. We're so sorry. So that was really nice. I was really grateful.
Well, that's good news.
Because, I was driving back and it was 4 or 5 hours after I bought it. I didn't want them to think I left it in a hot car or something, because if you leave an animal in a hot car for a few hours, that exact same thing will happen. But thankfully, they didn't think I tampered with it, probably because I was so stoked when I bought it. I was on cloud 10. So that was a little discouraging.
You found your unicorn, and then the unicorn lost its horn.
I found my unicorn, and the unicorn got its horn chopped off.
No.
So I returned it, and I decided to do something I don't normally do, and that's like buy a pretty small animal. I usually try to hunt for like the 15, 20 gram range, just because that way I can get a view of the structure. I can tell the progression. I don't really like to risk small animals unless they're really, really, really nice. I think I've bought a couple babies, but it's just normally I don't. But I found a red porthole male, another one, pretty small. So wasn't near as high expression as the older one, but just because it's tiny. And I saw like pretty stark, like definite lines of portholes going down at so young. And so I'm like, okay, I'll take a chance and see how this one progresses.
Yeah.
So we're going to see.
So you got your male, you just got to grow it out, and hopefully it turns out to be even better. So, you know,
Yes.
things happen for a reason in this hobby,
Yes.
for sure.
And then I did end up, I know I just talked about being disciplined, but I did end up going home with a couple others. But they were technically things I was searching for. I just was like Luke searching for them because
And they were a good deal.
they were really good. Oh, you saw that video,
Right?
didn't you?
Well, yeah. I watch your stuff.
That was directly about Tinley. But
I love it.
I needed a new red lily male, going back to the like trying to phase out the stuff that I originally bought. The one I originally I have him. You might have seen him on my page. He's a phantom lily, and he fires down pink, like super pastel pink, almost white. And I loved that color. Like I wanted to like have a pink project. I'm like, I could start a pink project. Like he fires up salmon. Like he doesn't fire up red. But he's like 2.5 years old and he's only like 34 grams.
Yeah, okay.
And I feed 4 times a week, crickets twice a week. Fig and insect and growth and breeder are the two things I feed. Like I feed enough to where my grow outs gain about 1 gram a week. And he just won't grow. He hit like 33, 34, and he's been that way for months.
Yeah, some of them just don't.
And actually, I talked with 402 Exotics. They're local breeders while they're from Nebraska. They were at Tinley as well.
Oh, I love them. I got my hybrid and my F1s from them.
Yeah, they're super sweet. I love them so much. They've given me a lot of advice too. Yeah. But I talked with them and they're big on like, they've been doing this for a lot longer than I have. And I'm like, I don't know if I want to breed in those small genetics, you know? I don't want to make, like, because my whole goal is to make breeder quality animals. I want investment quality animals. I want beautiful examples. And I don't want me to sell to someone and they spend 2 years growing this thing out and they're like, hey, it won't get to 40 grams. You know, I don't want to sell breeder animals that can't be bred. So I had to make a tough decision because he is gorgeous. Like, I love his color. He's beautiful, but the structure isn't there.
I think that's one of those debates too. And again, I'm not saying I know the right answer to this, right? You've got to make that call for your vision, your projects. I see the other side too of I've heard people say, well, if you go to New Caledonia and you look at the population that we've studied there, which I don't know how much people really have studied that much, a lot of them are not massive. A lot of them obviously don't have the head structure. And so, could you fix that in a generation or two breeding to, F2, F3, productions? Do you want to take that time? I don't have the right answer there, but I think it's the right answer. If you are worried about producing offspring, just because you're going to pair that not necessarily with the biggest female that's going to go and change things, but the prettiest female, maybe she's on the smaller side too. You're right. I mean, a lot of people don't wait to 30, at least, especially in the Garg world, they don't wait till they're like 28, 30 grams to buy them. I buy a lot of young babies. I sell a lot of young babies that are, just around 10 grams or less. If I'm waiting 2.5 years to grow out this $2,000 gecko and it's small, it's like, ooh, that's a dilemma.
Yeah. That's
exactly
a dilemma.
Like,
it's what if I spent, like you said, over $1,000, $2,000 on this investment quality animal and it can't even hit 40 grams, I would be so defeated. Like you can still breed it. You can still make gorgeous babies, but they're just going to be smaller. Especially the male I have, the Phantom, he was going to be like my cornerstone male for my Phantom Frap project. And so I was going to breed him to a cappuccino female I have, and she already doesn't have the best structure. She's a cappuccino. They need work on their structure. She still has crest and everything, the nostrils. Like, she is not inbred. She's a very good example, structure-wise, of a cappuccino.
Sure.
It's just she's a cappuccino.
She's a cat. Yeah, exactly. It's like Dalmatians. You know that most Dalmatians have horrible structure.
Yep, exactly.
You know,
it's
very small gene pool.
And so I just knew, like, if I breed him to her, those babies are not going to be good. I can't. So that's what I ended up buying. I named him, this is a new name. I haven't posted him on Instagram or anything. I just got him. His name is Arson, actually.
I like that, yeah.
I like to name all my fancy geckos after crimes. So he's a super high expression red lily. I think he's actually, hold on.
Is he hanging out with you right there?
Yeah.
Nice.
He loves to just chill there. But I don't know.
Welcome to the podcast, little buddy.
Yeah, his belly is just pure white.
That's
I know
awesome.
you said you don't like super, super high white reds. I really love them.
No, I like them. I'm just saying that if I could choose between a super high white red and a balanced one, I'll take the balanced one first, but that's a close second.
Yeah.
I'm right there with you. It is gorgeous. Like the platinum white, yeah.
Yeah. When I saw him, he was actually from Super Yamori.
Oh, yeah.
Super Yamori was a really chill guy, and I just went up to talk to him because I'm like, I want to meet this guy. You know, I think I'm done with shopping. It was the second day. It was Sunday. Like, I'm pretty much done looking. I found my porthole, and the porthole's the only thing I picked up from Tinley.
Nice.
And I'm just talking with him, and I look down at his booth, and I'm just like looking, and I'm saying like, oh, look at a lot of nice, really, really nice tricolors and all that. And I'm pretty good on tricolors. My main project now, I think, is shifting more towards reds. I love my tricolors. I really do. I don't have the giant vision for them as much as I have the reds.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do the red tricolors.
I've thought about that. I think right now we're focusing on really, really, really high extreme portholes with reds. That's why I bought my Frostline male, was to introduce it into Phantom. But I looked down at his table and I just see something. I was like, that's not very Super Yamori, because he does a lot. Like, he is not really known for reds. He's got gorgeous animals, but I never knew he like had a red. And I looked down, and there's this like bright white, like paper white animal with red right here is about the only red you can see, and you can kind of see the red coming through the white a little bit, because with Lily you've got the like super stark like multi skin layer white, and then the just regular white. And you could sort of see like shadows of red almost. It looked like a really thin tissue had been laid over the gecko.
Oh, very cool.
And I was like, whoa, like I like that. And I'm like, in the back of my head, I'm like, well, I wanted a phantom lily to replace my other phantom lily, but I'm like, that's a really nice lily. Like, I might make an exception. And so I talk with them. I'm like, is this for sale?
Did you produce this?
Yeah. Is this for sale? Because I didn't see a price on it at first. I was like, can I buy this? And then he was like, yeah. He turns out he actually bought it from Gecko Barons.
Oh, cool.
And he just didn't have a project to fit it in. And so he was offering it up. And I'm like, yeah, here, take the rest of my money.
Yes.
I'll keep it.
There you go. This is a no-brainer. And that's what's cool too, is I think you bring up a good point, is when you're at these shows, right? And my walkthrough that I do, the video walkthrough, it forces me to look at geckos and tables that I normally would just skip over, right? Being a Garg guy, I am not hunting through the 150 geckos on a crested gecko table, right? To look at like, where's the hidden gem, right? But every so often, I'll find something that I'm just like, was not expecting, like you just said. And sometimes they're not even at gecko tables, which then I'm asking a few extra questions. But like, I picked up this female ready to breed, beautiful. I'll post a picture of her right here. But she is huge. First off, structure, absolutely perfect. She's got red dorsal stripe, orange. She is a true, like, it's not really bacon line, but just that bacon look.
Yeah.
Where, orange all the way through adulthood, kept that huge, thick, and then she's got lateral striping that's orange. And then she's got orange eyebrows. And I'm like...
You showed me that gecko.
I showed you that gecko.
I remember you showing me. You were like, look at his eyebrows. And I'm like, what? Like, I'm still very new to the Garg world. I have a pair, but I'm still learning. And it's like, that's insane. I
I've
remember
just
seeing that
never
animal.
seen an adult gecko with eyebrows for sale. And
Hmm.
the price was, I'm like, this is definitely not a gecko guy. You know, like
Yeah, he
he had the
doesn't know
most
what yeah.
amazing, he probably knows what he's doing.
No, I
He's
meant like
focused
doesn't know
more
like
on
exactly what he has. Like,
exactly. That's what I'm
he's
hoping.
probably not into the
The
tiny
pricing.
intricate things. Like I probably wouldn't even notice eyebrows because like I said, I'm fairly new to
You're new
Gargs.
to it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I wouldn't notice like that small thing could really bump the price up.
Exactly. And so it worked out beautifully. I traded some really nice babies for it, actually. So it worked out even better.
Perfect.
And, I was tempted to also look at one of the bearded dragons that he has because he's known for his super red, dark
Mm,
red bearded
okay.
dragons. So you can guess which giant vendor at Tinley has amazing bearded dragons. And yeah, just super nice guy, but worked out. And I'm just like, I'm so glad that I was attracted to your table for your, bearded dragons for this walkthrough. Otherwise, I wouldn't have seen the 3 gargoyle geckos
Mm-hmm.
you had off to the side.
Mm-hmm.
So you never know what you're going to find at these places, or
Yep.
at what table.
Yep. That's actually, I think that's the same story of like how I found the new porthole mail. It was the second day and I was just walking through because I told my girlfriend, I'm like, first day, we are on a mission. I'm only
Hmm.
stopping at Krusty Gecko booths. I'm looking at them. If they don't have portholes, I'm going. Like, I was
Hmm.
super quick. I'd stop a booth, look for like 30 seconds, not see a porthole, leave. Like, I was on a mission because I got VIP and I'm like, I need to get the best one here before someone else does. That's like in my
Right.
head. Like, I will come home with the best porthole here.
FOMO
And
was
so I'm
going
just,
hard.
what?
FOMO was going hard.
Yes. No, it was. I'm like, I will not have this taken from me. I've waited months and saved up way too much money for a porthole.
That's awesome.
And so I'm just zipping through the aisles and I don't even see the vendor the first day. Sunday, come up and I'm like, all right, let's just relax. I'm a little defeated. I just had to give back this amazing porthole. Let's just enjoy the show. I need to take a break. I need to, not get caught up in the whole perfectionism thing. I need to just relax and still enjoy this and not let that sad example happen. I'm trying to think of the word.
Like
Let
ruin
that
your experience.
determine
Yeah.
the outcome of like this amazing trip. So I gotta remember I've been looking forward to this for like 10 years. So it's like, let's just relax and enjoy the show. And so me and my girlfriend are walking around and I actually met up with Cowabunga Cresties.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Penny's awesome.
So she was showing me around and eventually I told her, I'm like, yeah, because she asked, she's like, anything you're looking for? And I'm like, well, I thought I wasn't, but I just had to give back this porthole. And she's like, oh, I know a booth. Come with me. And
Mm-hmm.
so we walk over and we see this booth with boas. And I'm like, why are we here? Like I walked through this yesterday. There's just a bunch of boas. But I didn't notice that by the boa, like showcase thing,
Mm-hmm.
there was a whole thing of Crusties.
Yep.
I didn't know that. And she points at it and I'm like, wow. I didn't
Mm-hmm.
expect that at all. So I just
No.
bought it. And I was like, I didn't even know this booth had these. I looked at it yesterday. I looked at it, saw boas, ran.
Well, and that's the crazy thing too, is so you were there for 3 days, right? And you still miss,
I came
you know,
Saturday.
you came Saturday. Okay, you didn't, even though you bought VIP?
Yeah, it was a long drive and I didn't wake up early enough. So, we had to
Fair
skip the
enough.
VIP on Friday.
See, yeah, you
I'm a
really want to
sleepy
get the good
guy.
stuff. Come on, Friday. Yeah, fair enough. Yeah, I mean, I went Friday and Saturday and didn't go Sunday. And, it's funny as I'm going through my footage and seeing what I picked up while you're shopping, while you're doing other things, while you're chatting with people, I'm like, I'm there Saturday from 7:30 in the morning, right, until at
Mm,
least 5 or 6 o'clock in the
mm,
evening. And I didn't see everything.
yeah.
Like you don't have the opportunity to see everything. And even when you're there for 2 days, 3 days, there's things that somebody's like, did you see this? Oh, did you see
Mm-hmm.
that? It's like,
Yep.
I thought I missed that. How did I miss that? I thought I went through every aisle, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so, just keeping that open mind of, it's a hunt and it's fun and it's an adventure. And that's why it is 3 days and it's exciting. It's not a 1 day show in the slightest.
Yeah.
So,
No, I can definitely tell you that the second day, I think I saw all new booths
hmm
because they were all ones that I completely looked over and didn't even realize they're there. Maybe they were sandwiched between two big ones with giant, and so you couldn't tell that there was another one in there. And so I just saw all new animals the second day. I really thought, I'm like, okay, I'm just going to look back over the booths that I already saw and see if there's something I didn't see. Nope.
Hmm.
Found like 10, 12, 13 new booths that I completely ran by.
Right. Yeah. It shows you how competitive it is to grab your attention too at
Mm-hmm.
Tinley.
Mm-hmm.
Any big show, and but the aisles are so narrow, and oh my God, if one more person, I love kids, putting that out there. You bring your stroller, okay, your double wide, extra big stroller, and just create a traffic jam. You should be fined, okay? They should be walking around with Tinley tickets. And this is an extra $50 fee just
Or
to
like,
bring the
yeah,
stroller in
have to
here.
buy a wide load sign so there's extra cost to it or something. Yeah, I will say that was pretty annoying because especially, I want to say like 1 or 2 on Saturday is just like everyone
Peak
is
time
there.
is
And like I'm
nuts.
already having to walk sideways.
Mm-hmm.
And then a stroller's there, and then it just turns into everyone pushing me and me not trying not to like push this mom. So,
Everybody's just like grinding up against you. It's like, I'm taken.
yep.
Get off me.
My girlfriend's only 5'3", so I had to hold her hand when I walked, otherwise she'd get lost in the crowd.
You guys have to play Marco Polo sometimes.
Yep.
Fight each other. That's awesome. Yeah, no, it gets nuts, and then everybody gets hungry and leaves, but
Mm-hmm.
not everybody leaves, but it dies down a little bit. But I mean, it's a blast. It's one of those things where it's a whirlwind. You need to recover, and I picked up. This was probably my most productive Tinley that I've ever
Mm-hmm.
been to by far. Between the purchases, the trades, everything else like that, and kind of going back a step to our previous conversation. I'm at the point now where I'm looking at my collection, not just for this year, not just for next year, but I'm looking 3 years out and going, okay, who do I need to pair together? Who do I want to pair together?
Mm-hmm.
Things could change, right? All of a sudden, what I think is a female could, pop
Mm-hmm.
pores, and that's not a girl anymore. And all of a sudden, that throws a wrench in my plans. And one thing I started talking to my wife about recently was I just hatched out 2 amazing babies.
I saw those. Those the ones that
just
you sent
posted
me
that.
to.
Yep.
So pretty.
So last clutch from Proslin in Hawaii, and they started the year off strong. They ended the year off even better. And Proslin's throwing crazy thick laterals and stuff. Anyway, my point is that I'm like, normally I would want to hold one of these back, and I might actually incorporate a next generation kind of thing. But like you said, if they're one of your first geckos, I got lucky with my very first girl, Hawaii. She's a beautiful 6-stripe, and she's got a unique coloration. So why would I replace her with a kid, right? Because I don't want to keep, these things live for 20, 30 years. We don't know really. And so I'm like, at what point do I go, I can't hold anything back, right? Or it has to be so darn impressive to expand, because I don't want to sell or retire in less than 10 years.
Yeah.
And maybe, I don't know, if people in the comments could let me know if I'm crazy for, like, if you think that after 8 years of breeding, that's too much. I don't know, but I know some geckos that are 20 something years old and they're still producing.
Yep. And that's such an important debate, and it gets talked about a lot, is at what age do we say that these animals can't breed? And AJ talks about this a lot, and he brings up his own geckos. This is in the crested gecko world. I haven't really heard him talk about the gargoyle geckos. I feel like it's probably adjacent. They're both nucals. Their care is almost identical. He has 15-year-old animals that are still breeding. And he swears that once you start breeding a female, if you stop, its health declines.
Mm-hmm.
He swears by it. He swears, like, if you stop breeding them, they start gaining weight, they start getting lethargic, they stop moving. And so I've always wondered that too, because I'm super new. I'm already, like I said, thinking about 5 years in the future.
Yeah, you have to.
Especially with my porthole project. I've already got, like, I'm pairing my Frostline male to a Phantom to produce hets that hopefully will bring that snowflake and white spotting over. And so right now I'm just focused on producing my own hex because I want to introduce my own portholes. I want to make my own line of portholes. And it's crazy too because you're a smaller breeder. I'm assuming
Yeah.
you want to stay smaller.
Yeah.
It's the same here.
I like going on vacation.
What?
I like going on vacation, so
Yes,
that's the
exactly.
main reason.
I have a job too, and I was thankful to be given two passions in this world, and so I'd like to keep the other one alive too.
Exactly.
And I don't want a giant collection. I want it to still be manageable. I want to be able to still have my other job, and I want to still enjoy things and have fun with my family. And so I was thinking that, like, I can't hold much back. Because if I want to continue breeding, if I hold everything back, in 2 years, I'm going to have 200 animals, you know? And I won't be able to manage that. I'm very good, and I think this needs to be talked about more, is not knowing when you have to stop, but just knowing your limits and knowing when you're comfortable. Because a lot of people, I'll see new breeders and they'll have 50 animals in 6 months, and they're managing, they're fine. But it's like, what are you going to do when you have 20 pairs going? And now all of a sudden you have 250 animals, 300 animals, and you just started breeding. You don't even know the best system that works. Like, it's taken me 2 years to come up with this, and I'm still tweaking and I'm still trying to find ways that make it more efficient.
Or even just how do you move that kind of animal? Hey, you need a reputation. Yep. I mean, both of us being on social media is almost a must, in my opinion. Yes. To get the respect and name recognition where people can trust you to spend any bit of money on your animals, because, like you said, the market is sort of saturated. And then, you know, even if you don't have social media, you can't just throw stuff up on Morph Market. And do you know about Morph Market? Do you know about, like, what you can do on other social media platforms? Do you know what you can do to promote your animals or your sales? Do you do sales? Do you not do sales? These are all things that I'm still figuring out. And if I produced my first year, if I had 20 females my first year, holy cow, I'd be inundated.
You'd be swimming with weights attached to your ankles. It won't work.
No.
But
so, like, I think, like you said, there's no hard and fast rule. We're not here to say, if you have X amount of animals, you need to stop.
Yeah.
That's not what we're saying.
It's important to have the humility to be able to recognize, you know, how much you can handle. You know, it's important for some people, they can handle 300 animals their first year. You know, more power to them. If you can do that, that's amazing. I know I can't. I know I have too much going on in my life to be able to ethically care for these animals. And that's always been my first priority, is making sure they're healthy. Like I said previously, I'm a perfectionist. I weigh weekly. I check fecals all the time. I am hyper focused on the care of my animals. And so I will not sacrifice aspects of care for quantity. And so that's where I've come up with around this many breeders. I'm very okay with. But like you said earlier with the holdbacks, for me to be able to hold something back, it's going to have to blow me away. It helps that I started off with nice stock relative to how long I've been in the hobby. It's a lot of really effective planning and coming in and buying when there's deals and things like that. But for me to hold something back, it would have to be very, very, very nice.
Right.
And I'm going to hold
because you started off strong, you will produce those things.
Yes.
And it will test you.
I'm hoping, you know.
Right.
I still don't know. The biggest trick for me so far will be those pairings because you always have some pairings that are absolutely gorgeous visual examples, but they don't produce. And then you have some pairings that are like ugly ducklings, but their genetics are insane. And so they always produce gorgeous animals. So that's what I'm most worried about, is since I'm a new breeder and I haven't really paired animals before, I've done one pairing, but I'm both terrified and excited to see what my animals actually pop out. So,
well, and just because, okay, so like in my very first year, I paired Proslin and Eve. And looking back, right, 2020 vision, I thought the babies were very nice, right? But now looking at them and seeing, you know, them a little bit older, I think even the people who got them would say they're not the best that pair has produced. And so not every single pair that those two have put together were 10 out of 10. But I've got some babies from them this year, all of a sudden the genes connected. These things are absolute fire, right? And
Okay.
so do I expect that every baby that hatches out that they put together, and again, we're done with the season and I'm not pairing them again next year. But some of them just are ugly ducklings. Maybe they'll grow into something nice. Some of them are fire. So even with, really intentional good pairs, you're not going to get the same outcome. It's not a recipe where you put these ingredients together and you get this cookie, right? And if you, I think that's important for people to realize, and that sometimes I've seen and talked to people where their best crazy holdback production came from a pair that was just putting out okay, babies, and then all of a sudden those genes just connected and they got that super form, whatever they want to call it, and it's just like, and that's part of also consistency with pairs. It's a whole other rabbit hole we can go down. But
no, I think that's one of it's both a downside and a good side about New Caledonian geckos. To me, it fascinates me. Back when I was little, I went through my ball python phase. I don't know if you went through a ball python phase.
No, nope. Wasn't allowed to.
I went through the whole, I'm going to produce these genes and combos, and, I went through the phase, and it lasted a couple months before I was like, never mind.
Yeah.
But, so from when it comes to, genes and breeding standpoint, originally it was, leopard geckos and ball pythons. Those are the first two animals I wanted to breed.
Yeah.
And their genes are a lot more cut and dry than New Caledonian geckos. There's a lot less phenotypical differences in them.
Yeah.
It's just you put X and Y together and you get Z. Like you said, there's literally a recipe. They don't really care about the visual expression in ball pythons. I think there's one line of black pastel that's been selectively bred. I can't remember the name of it, but that's the only time I've ever heard of
then sort of the Black Knights and things like that.
Yeah. But so when I came to the crested gecko world, it sort of kind of allured me that you can pair these two animals and you'll get something completely different than both of them, and there's no genes involved. Because before that, the only time I had ever heard of that was you pair two hets together and you get a visual. But this is just wacky genes doing wacky things, and you get so many different animals. And base colors, patterns, pinstripes, harlequins, gargs. You can get a blotch from a stripe pairing. It's how? And to me, that's cool. It's a little present. You don't know what you're going to get. And so it keeps it fun and exciting. And you're not going to get bored of a pairing, because every year, like you said, they're going to produce different stuff. Some of that stuff's going to be incredible. Some of it's going to be okay. But every year it's changing, and it's never going to get stale, in my opinion.
Exactly. No, 110%. And if you do get lucky where you find a pairing that produces the same thing every single time, congratulations.
You make a lot of money. Well,
yeah,
it depends.
Well, it depends if their babies are good, but it's going to take a while before I decide to unpair Proslin and Bimini. Now that I've talked about before, that is the holdback I'm keeping. 110%, already named it, kind of thing of the baby. They've produced now 6 clutches. Every baby is 9 or a 10 on a 10-point scale.
Wow.
Just ridiculously consistent, and nothing as red as the one I'm keeping, which was the very first baby. But hey, I'll take that consistency, and then maybe one day what I'm really hoping is that a baby hatches out, and if we can get the saturation that I have on these 6 stripes that are popping out of this pair, but it's a blotch because mom's a blotch, right? Imagine a super blotch like that.
I mean, I'm a blotch guy. I own 2 gargoyle geckos, but it's actually funny. The reason I wanted a gargoyle as a pet was, so I have an Xanthic. Okay. I love the fired down look of the Xanthics. Actually, some morphs and traits, I prefer fired down looks, which I feel like is kind of unique, and most people want to see fired up. They want to see that. But if I could produce an animal that looks good fired down, which is 90% of the time they're fired down, in my head, they're fired down more than they're fired up. If they're fired up more than they're fired down, you've got some stress issues going on, and you should probably fix some aspects of care.
Or I'll tell you another reason why. You keep them on paper towel.
Oh, what?
Yep. So similar to how people think chameleons change their color, right? If you notice when it's dark out and especially when you have that black liner underneath, those, see if I have one here.
The little
I don't.
cup liners.
Yeah, the little
the
cup
deli
liners, right? The black ones versus the white ones, right? They want to blend into their environment.
Is that why my
So
animals are fired down more than they're fired
yes.
up?
Yeah,
I
that's one of
never
the
knew that
reasons
they
I
did
learned
that.
that from Paul in my last podcast. He was
Really?
talking about it. And so when I switch my kids from paper towel, because I know that they're eating well, they're pooping well, I actually keep in my 6-quart tubs a substrate.
Really?
And I just switch it out every other week and pluck out little nuggets. But they're fired up because of the high humidity, the darkness, and the substrate. 99% of the time, they're fired up.
That's fascinating.
Mm-hmm.
Wow, I did not know that.
Cool fun fact for you.
It's good. I'm learning something every day.
Exactly, right? It's the cool part. So, I mean, I'm not saying it's 100% of the time, but I find very consistently, if I pulled one out right now,
Really?
it's in a paper towel, I guarantee it's going to be fired down. And if I pull one out and it's let me do it just for fun, right? Watch this.
Should I pop one out too? I don't know.
Yeah, go ahead. So, here, this is paper towel. Everybody can see. Paper towel, little baby. Okay, this is a Proslin Hawaii kid. And it's not the brand new one, but it's still a nice one. Yep, fired down. Look at this. Come here, little guy.
Let's see here. This is going to be a bad example because it's a cappuccino, but...
So, here you go. A little fired down Garg.
Fired down crested.
Very good. Yep.
She's on the move. No, I never thought of that.
Let me throw, literally right next door. Again, I haven't seen them, so I could be proven wrong right now.
This is a control trial here.
Here we go. We got substrate in here, right? And this is one of my new blotches, so I'll help you out with the blotch.
Stop it. You're going to make me spend money.
Oh, I'm not selling this one. I don't know. Can you see it?
Want it.
Fired up?
Yeah, fired up.
This one is eyebrows. It's really hard to see on this. I'll post a picture of it. But it's a skeleton. And it's got a skeleton form with eyebrows.
That's cool.
This was one of my Tinely pickups. So, yeah, I actually bought the clutch. So I bought both siblings.
Both examples?
They were...
That's kind of cool.
Oh, it's so cool. I'm hoping they're both female because I've got an eyebrow boy that I also picked up. And
that'd be really sweet.
And that way, no matter what babies come out,
same
they'll
lineage.
be related. Yeah, exactly, basically. And they're almost identical, the two clutch mates. So, but yeah, so just something random and fun.
I did not know that.
I should do a video on that, right?
We should, honestly.
That'd be a cool one. Well, okay, let me ask you that. I want to switch gears because, obviously I found you through social media. I saw your Instagram. I followed your Instagram before we even started talking. And I think I was in line. I looked at you first before you saw me. And I said,
you recognized me before I saw you. And I was dumbfounded that you recognized me.
That's why it was so shocking to me. I'm like, no, I'm the fan. We're both fans of each other. I love it. But, right now you're on Instagram. Is that the only platform that you're on? That's the one I found you on.
Yep, I'm currently only on Instagram. I've only had the Instagram since April.
Okay.
So as far as, Gecko business social media concerns go, I'm really new. I haven't had my Gecko Instagram for multiple years. I haven't really been doing that.
You're a natural, man.
Thank you. I actually did speech and theater and all that, and again, very extroverted person. So I've never had a problem acting, doing things. I've never had a problem with it. And so at first when the Instagram started, it was just videos of my geckos. Like, this is a Gecko Instagram for my Gecko business. Videos of my geckos. Here we go. This is what I'm doing. This is what everyone does, though. That's what everyone does, is they have videos of the geckos. And there's nothing wrong with that. You're showcasing your animals. You're doing what you're supposed to do. You want people to know what they're buying from. That shows lineage. In my opinion, lineage is really important. If you can get lineage. If I see 2 examples of an animal and one of them has lineage, I'm getting the one with lineage. But it got kind of stale. I started losing followers, and I'm looking at the algorithm, and I'm seeing what I'm doing, and likes are going down, things are not reaching people. And I was thinking, well, let me think of what I can do just to sort of liven up the mood, kind of get some blood flowing into my Instagram account. Because I'm a new guy, I should stand out. People have been doing this for years and years and years, decades. And so I made a little trend video, and it was the like Johnny Cash song, the like parody of him robbing a bank, the like stick 'em up, everybody freeze.
Yep.
And the trend was you would hold your pet and use the pet as a gun. And so I grabbed 5 geckos, and I put one on each of my hands, and I put one on my head, and I put one on my chest, and I put another one on my shoulder, and I just did the trend. And that video got like 5 times as much engagement as my reptile, like just a straight video.
Absolutely.
And I was like, there's something here, you know? And then I could never really find many people doing the type of content that I was going to do. There's a few. I'm definitely not the first one to do this. I'm not going to claim that.
They're usually more attractive women.
Yeah, not a funky looking dude with a mullet and a mustache for sure. Go. I don't have that. I got a mustache.
Stand out.
That's about it. And so I was like, I'll try this. I'll make a little like meme video thing. I'll do it the sound, and I'll do the voice thing where I lip sync, and I'll try it. And so I made my first video was a tub video actually, and it was just a joke. At that point, I wasn't as big into advocating for proper care and tubs as I am now. Now I'm big advocate for it. I'm really trying to lessen the stigma around tubs, show people that proper care is possible, show people that not everyone keeps with the bare minimum. Most people don't keep with the bare minimum. A lot of times people have seen one example of tubs 20 years ago, and they're like, oh, all tubs are bad. Well, it's the truth. The standard of care has changed, and the breeders have followed. You look at
absolutely
look at anything 20 years ago, and it doesn't look like care today just because it's such an evolving hobby, And so I made a tub video and got a lot of interaction. Like, I think I gained like 200 followers from it. And the comments were filled with people calling me like an animal abuser, saying I needed my animals taken away, calling me a hoarder, things like that. And I could have done that and been like, okay, I can't do this because people are mad at me. But I looked at it, I'm a psychology student. I want to be a counselor. A lot of times when people have a bias towards something, it's because they haven't been properly educated on it. That's the truth with most phobias. Most phobias are, I don't know this. I'm scared of it. I'm going to jump to a conclusion and confirm that it's bad. And so I looked at it as an opportunity to educate. And I looked at it as, okay, let me see if I can somehow close the gap between these types of care or these types of enclosure materials. Because there's really the only difference is the box. It's the box that we keep the animal in. What should matter is the stuff on the inside, your proper humidity cycles, your light cycles, your feeding, your decor. And so then it turned into a big passion project for me. So I'm doing that, and then now what I do is I do a video of a gecko every other day, and I do some form of entertainment reel, always gecko related though. I never wanted to stray from gecko related content, because I was also worried about the quality of my followers. Because I don't care about the numbers near as much as the type of person following me. I want the person following me to be interested in geckos, interested in what I have to offer. I don't want just a bunch of followers at any cost. Because if I have 30,000 followers, but only 500 of them are gecko people, what happens when I do a gecko drop and I get one invoice like, hey, I like this gecko? But the numbers don't count if the people don't like what you're trying to do.
Right. You don't want to do a food channel mixed with a gecko channel, mixed with a gamer channel. And I get you.
So every entertainment reel is either about, an aspect of care. I'm big on water bowls as well. Big water bowl guy. I love water bowls. And so it's either advocating for water bowls, advocating for tubs, or just general funny, like, haha, I have no self-control, I bought an animal, like we talked about earlier.
Yep.
But
which we can all relate to.
Yep. That's what it blossomed into, was let me think of what I struggle with, what I think in my head. What do I think as a keeper? I'm just going to put that online, because we're all so similar. You talk to anyone who keeps reptiles and you can relate. And so that's what I thought, like, well, these are things that I think. And so I'm fairly certain other gecko people are going to think them. And it's worked out really well. So
That's awesome. Yeah, no, and I love that you're talking about. I mean, that's one thing I need to work on is consistency, right? Instagram is more of I just throw things to
Hmm.
show off or get a
Hmm.
few dopamine hits, but it's not a goal of mine. Even YouTube, I enjoy putting these out, but guys, I'm being selfish here. I just wanted to talk to John. I don't really
Yeah, this is
care if
just
I
a
get
nice conversation.
150, likes or 0 likes. I hope you guys like and subscribe if you're finding this fun because it'll motivate me. The psychology of it, right?
Dude, it's a
Some
really
positive
cool account.
reinforcement.
Dude,
But
I geek
you
over it.
know, I'm definitely not not currently. I might change my mind. I chasing the huge numbers just for numbers.
Hmm.
But one thing I like about your account is that you, whatever the reason is behind it, you are doing the things that you need to do to grow it. And you're reaching a lot of people and you're educating a lot of people. And, going back to the tubs, it's one of those things where people need to understand that just because it's affordable doesn't mean it's the wrong way of going about it.
Yep.
Right. And there's a stigma where it's, again, going back to the psychology of it. If it costs more, it's better. If it's
Hmm.
bigger, it's better.
Hmm.
Not always, guys, right? I think
Hmm.
we've learned that. And I think most people that are trolling you, or maybe not trolling you, or making comments because they are uneducated about certain things,
Hmm.
some have good intent.
Yeah.
Some are just doing it
I
to be
can
dicks.
I can always tell when someone is like honestly like they don't understand and so they're like you can't do that. I heard this. And so then I educate them. A lot of times I'll be like, come into my DMs. I'll talk with you.
Hmm.
I'll give you articles on things if you want. I'm big into research. I'll give you articles. I'll take you through every step. I'll show you I will show you what everything that I do to make sure my animals are healthy. And so I can always tell a difference between people who are honestly just having a discussion.
Yes.
I've had discussions where they end up still disagreeing that tubs are nice, but they're respectful about it.
Hmm.
And I'm so okay with that. I love hearing differing opinions. That's the only way this community will grow is if we can come together and just talk about our experiences without wanting to rip someone's head off.
Exactly.
But then there's also the people who would just call me an animal abuser. They call me poor because I have tubs. And I just, it's coming out of a place of hatred. Psychology, when you're
Hmm.
angry, it's a secondary emotion. You're reacting out of emotion rather than thinking through things. And I've been there. I've been the dude who just was furious and just spit things out. And so why I can't be mad at you for doing that because I've done it myself.
Hmm.
The best I can do is wish for you to maybe rethink. But I really try not to get caught up in it. I still do sometimes.
Right.
Sometimes when I've had a long day and I get a comment, and I'm
You
like,
want your own dopamine hit.
yeah, I get a
I'm gonna
comment, and I'm
smash
like,
this
all
person.
right,
Yeah.
here we go, and I send a kind of a passive aggressive text, and I'm
Yeah.
like, why'd you do that? Well, you're just feeding into it. And so I
So
kind of,
here's a trick for you that I've learned. What I do is when I really have, if I'm typing it, retyping it more than once,
mm-hmm.
right? I don't send it to that person. I send it to my wife, right? I send it to my wife. She looks it over and tells me, you know what? Send it. Or most times she goes, eat your words.
Yeah,
Like just delete
yep,
it. You got it to me,
yep,
and she doesn't even understand what I'm saying half the time. But it's a good way of feeling like I got it out
without
without it
causing
actually
more
affecting me
harm.
later on because in today's world everything's permanent.
Mm-hmm.
Everything that you say, every
Yep,
interaction you go through,
yep,
there's time machine. You can delete it. You can delete your account. People will find it on you.
yeah. There's a trail that it never goes away.
No.
Yeah, no,
So
thankfully I haven't ever stooped to someone else's level of like name calling and stuff.
yeah.
It's just I've gotten a little passive aggressive of like the most I'll do is like if you'd like to learn about tub care, let me know, and then with like a hearty emoji.
Yeah.
That's my thing to like so that way I don't actually like say names or do anything. I just like kill them with kindness, and I'm like after they call
Yep.
me an animal abuser and tell me that my animals should be taken away, I'm like let me know.
What's the saying in the South? Like bless your heart or something like
Yeah,
that.
bless your heart. Yeah.
Big middle finger.
Yeah, it does not mean that.
Love it.
Yeah.
No, that's great. And that's the thing is, mixing that entertainment with the education.
Hmm.
That's what this is all about. Because even if you get to the point where you're like, and I've had this kind of a hard thing kind of coming up with new content or new things to talk about or
Hmm.
people to bring on the podcast, it's like, I'm getting to the point where I feel like I know or I've learned what I need to know for the next year, 2 years. But I keep telling myself that's dangerous.
Yeah.
Because
complacency is not a good place to be.
right, exactly. I think there's no better example than my conversation with Paul. I've been trying to get him on a podcast from Rack House since I started the podcast, right? And he was finally found some time, and it was awesome.
Perfect.
And probably one of my most educational podcasts to date. If you haven't seen that, go watch that. I learned so much. And I'm like, okay, maybe I'm not as smart as I think I am. Maybe my wife is right. There's always something to kind of, dig into a little bit more, and we're not making things up, but you have some fun with it, right? So
That's,
are you enjoying this though? Like, does it ever feel like work?
There's always, like I said, when it's 1 a.m. and I come home and I still have to do gecko chores, it feels like work then. I just want to go to bed, But for the most part, no. I mean, everyone's going to have their days. Everyone's going to have their days when they don't want to clean up the poop on all the walls, But I still come into this room and I look at all the amazing animals I have. And I take a step back and think me 2 years ago would pass out if he saw this. If he saw these amazing animals that I have, his mind would be blown. And then I make some reels sometimes about thinking back to my childhood self. And I'm just so full of joy because I finally am doing it. It's just cloud nine all the time. I'm going to have my bad days, but at the end of the day, I'm literally fulfilling a dream right now. This has been a fever dream for so long, and I'm actually doing it. So it's awesome. I love it.
Love the way you're actually being self-reflective, and especially on those bad days, saying my former self, would have just freaked, right? And I think this is not just geckos. This is anything worth doing in life. It's one of those things where it takes time, right? We didn't do this in a year. Right? This took years of us learning, cultivating, bartering, trading, to get to the point where we're at now. And 5 years from now, we're going to say the same thing about where we were then. But to, in the moment, step back, especially on those days that are really hard, and go, this is awesome. This is what it's about. Looking and appreciating what you have, not what you don't have. Because one thing that I'm afraid of sometimes is when I'm putting out content, showing all my amazing animals, some people will reach out and oh, my animals aren't nearly as nice as yours or that. And it's just don't compare my animals to your animals, right? You're doing the best you can in the moment right now. Have those goals. Have a plan. But even I look at, I made a reel recently about Sam Shi, right? I can't get his stuff because it's in China, and I made a reel about that, right? I mean, his stuff is on another level that I would dream of, right? So do you find yourself doing that as well? Do you find yourself looking at other people's accounts going, oh, if only...
Yeah, you're really speaking. That's going back to. I feel like this is going to be a common trend. Every time I call myself a perfectionist, someone's going to have to take a drink or something. But
we'll make a game out of it, guys.
Yeah, make a game out of it or something. I don't know. It's a broken record at this point.
Thunderstruck.
When I first started, that was the only thing I did. I looked at these animals that Morph Menagerie, AJ, N-Gex, all these gorgeous animals from these people who have been doing it for 10, 15, 20 years. And I was like, my animals are awful. I need to have that stuff, otherwise I'm not going to make it as a breeder. That's the way I looked at it. If I don't have the best stuff, no one will buy from me because they'll buy from them. If I don't have this, I'm going to fail. I need the best examples, And so it was really hard to get past that. Because I would look at animals within my budget, and then I'd see animals that they had, and I'm like, how am I supposed to do this as a little tiny itty bitty guy? I don't have that budget to get those insane once in a lifetime animals.
Yet.
So it was really hard. It really was. It took me a long time to be comfortable with my animals and understand that I may not have those insane animals now. I have some very nice animals. I love my animals. I'm getting to a place where I'm comfortable and I'm proud of them. But it can always go further, you know? So I've been able to recognize, like, you have put in a lot of time and effort in gaining this collection, and you have some very, very, very high quality animals, but also recognizing you can still push forward. So it's a little balance, because if I go too far, I'll convince myself that nothing I have is good enough. But so I have to convince myself that my animals are nice while recognizing I can still do better. And so it's sort of like doing the best of both worlds, just trying to still want progress without detrimenting your program. You know.
And it is a balance, right? For sure. You want to have the right growth mindset, but again, like we said, appreciate what you have, because you don't want to necessarily, especially in today's market, you don't want to go into debt for this, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's very easy to slap down a credit card and spend X amount of money on a crazy gecko thinking it's going to pay itself back. And unless you really know what you're doing, you have the name and you have the resources,
Mm-hmm.
it's probably not.
No.
But, I think it's one of those things where it takes time,
Mm-hmm.
and we'll all get there. I mean, I never would have thought. I just bought a $2,000 gecko and turned around and bought another $2,000 geckos this year. It sounds stupid. It
Yep.
sounds really
Yep.
stupid. Okay. I was scraping together my very first year, scraping together money, selling things around my house for $50, $25. I went and made stickers and sold them to my town for $5 a
Mm-hmm.
piece, raising gecko money, right? Because I
Mm-hmm.
didn't want to go into debt.
Mm-hmm.
And it's one of those things where it builds, where you can't afford it now, but if
Mm-hmm.
you do it the right way and you don't tap into your
Yep.
real money,
Yeah.
right?
The credit card bills and things.
Yeah, you just be smart about it, and people can reach their goals. We can, and that's the other cool thing too I want to mention is these, because they're going polymorphic, right? And because if you're smart about buying the geckos, they have the good genetics, but you can
Mm-hmm.
afford them, you can create it.
Yep.
Like
Exactly.
I know even right now with the budget that I can afford, right? Which after Tinley is nothing,
Yeah.
but
No. Same here.
I'll build it
It's
back
gone.
up. It's gone. We're back at zero.
Yep.
But like if I want to get into Chihuahua, right? There are gorgeous Chihuahua out there right
Mm-hmm.
now. And the ones that I really want are $5,000 more.
Yep.
Like
Exactly.
I'm not
Yep.
going to say I want necessarily the $500 ones. You can get them. But if I really wanted to do it right on a budget, I know that they're not blowing smoke on my butt. I
Mm-hmm.
could buy one for $5,000-$7,000 that has the genetics that if I'm
Mm-hmm.
patient enough, 3 years later, I can produce that. And
Yep.
that's really exciting too.
Yep. No, it's that's, I think, one of the most fulfilling things. And some people might not like the long haul, the like having that. Some people really don't. They want it now, and I'm guilty of that too. I've bought
Absolutely.
I bought some. I bought an RTV male. He's getting shipped in next week. He's actually from Morph Menagerie.
Nice.
I bought one of their breeders. I was watching a Palm Street Live, and they're talking about getting rid of some breeders. And I just typed in, because I felt bad. Someone else was like, I'll message you about him. I'm interested. And I just typed
Yeah.
in Palm Street. I'll take him. So I sort of undercut someone, and I felt kind of bad, but I'm like, I need that. That's exactly what I wanted. And it was a really good price. So,
Yeah. Well, those things are dangerous. Let's be honest here. We almost need like a special like thing on your phone where it's like a breathalyzer where don't drink and palm straight at the same time, because you can get into really a lot
yeah.
of trouble.
No, I don't drink, but I'm just,
That's good.
I see a nice animal, and I'm like,
Yeah.
ooh, but it's one more box. I have like 30 of these things. It's one more gecko bowl. That's fine. That's fine. And then one turns into like 12 more, and it's like, okay.
And then we're having the conversation of where's our limit, right? So we're back
Yep.
full circle there.
Yep.
So, no, that's awesome, man.
But no, that's going back to the long haul.
Yeah.
It's really, I think, more fulfilling.
Mm-hmm.
I think, in my opinion, knowing that like I have a vision, and knowing that I want to produce my own cornerstone animal, and I'm working towards that. To me, that's amazing. Like my biggest dream with breeding so far is making my own breeders. That's my goal is. I can't wait to have my own stock to breed, because then it's actually Goldenrod
Yours.
Geks. It's not produced by AJ, produced by Zengex. It's Goldenrod Geks in-house. And so then people can start to see my animals. So that, to me, that's just It's crazy.
I think we're both on that same page where that's the next level, man.
Yeah.
And with that, Jon, this has been amazing. We are over 2 hours chatting.
Yeah,
You're like, what are we going to talk about? No, we're gonna have plenty. So, dude, I really appreciate you waking up and doing this first thing in the morning with me. This has been a blast. It was great meeting you. You made my Tinely. Honestly,
I'm glad.
Just how excited we were chatting. We definitely have compatible energy. That was awesome, dude. So Instagram, that's where people can follow you?
Yep. Instagram at Goldenrod, the _ Geks. That's it. Geks is spelled Geks. So
love it.
A little fun thing. But yeah, you can find me there. I post crappy memes and my animals. So
that's fantastic. Well, like I said, I'm going to post a few or a link down in the description. So guys, go make sure that you're giving them a nice follow on Instagram. And thank you again so much for coming on. This has been a blast.
Of course. Thank you for having me. It was an honor. So
yeah, I'll see you around. Have a good one.
See ya.
Hey, if you've enjoyed this video and want to encourage me to make more gargoyle gecko content, do me a favor, hit that subscribe button, share this with a friend, and maybe check out one of the videos right over there. I'll see you next time on Gecko Cove.